In 2019, StarCraft 2 community saw the worst humiliation of a Russian team that has ever happened in its history.
118 probes. As you are ridiculous.
Yeah, for sure he knows he has way too many
Yeah,
probes
of
as well.
course.
He's like Mimi at this point.
He's got 5 times the work account of MEDOED.
It took place during Nation Wars, prestigious and also the only team tournament left in the scene. According to the rules, each country could choose 3 players plus 1 reserve player to play on that tournament, and the coolest part about it, every player gets elected to your team by a universal voting held on the website. This system would lead to a total disaster for the Russian team, as the community elected a wolf in the sheep's clothing. Normally on this tournament, viewers would obviously vote for the strongest players from their respective countries. At least this was the case until the elections in 2019, when Russian pro players suddenly faced a new rising star who effortlessly crushed them in the voting. Why did Russians massively vote for a candidate who had more than 1000 MMR difference not in his favor compared to all other competitors? Why did they choose the player who was barely even fit to compete against other grandmasters when there were so many other options? To understand this, we need to go back to the past. Around 2016, Vyacheslav Medoed, or simply called MEDOED by English casters, first time claimed Grandmaster League in StarCraft 2. Back in those days he was a decent player, but still far from the top of the local and world scene. However, his skill was not what paved his road to success and fame, it was his charisma and the way he conducted his streams. MEDOED was growing rapidly and he was overshadowing many other streamers and content makers precisely because he was unique. He was not shy and reserved, but loud, energizing, positive, and even behaved in a bit of a ridiculous and funny way. Every stream or video of him would feature a different sketch, joke, or even a cool StarCraft 2 strat or a build order. He was really appealing to the masses and he brought a lot of non-StarCraft 2 viewers to this game, making it way more popular in Russia. By 2019, MEDOED was a real star, with high numbers on streams, and he was even invited to cast some official events. The only guy more popular than MEDOED was the long-standing veteran of the scene, Alex, with whom he developed a bitter rivalry later on. However, this was only the tip of the iceberg. While trying to reach new heights of popularity in StarCraft 2 community, MEDOED would do more and more clickbait stuff that eventually started rubbing many people up the wrong way. It all began innocently though, with funny challenges like sleeping while playing an OP Protoss race.
Наши войска вступили в бой с противником. Наши войска открыли огонь.
But at one point, MEDOED started calling himself the best professional StarCraft 2 player in every single video and stream.
С вами MEDOED, профессиональный игрок и комментатор StarCraft 2. Профессиональный игрок, профессиональный игрок, профессиональный игрок, профессиональный игрок.
This was a complicated question because technically, in 2017, MEDOED had the peak of his form with around 5600 MMR, but this was only the bottom of Grandmaster League that year, and was certainly very far behind Russian players like Vanya or Scalas. MEDOED also never took part in any single professional match or tournament, and yet he kept telling his gospel about being an incredibly gifted professional player. As if this was not enough, at one point he claimed that he's actually the very best player of the whole Russia, but he just doesn't train seriously and he doesn't enjoy grinding like other pros do. Simultaneously, by 2018 and 2019, his form in StarCraft 2 was declining and he was barely a Grandmaster player. On his streams, he would hide his MMR and smurf against Master League or even Diamond players, making fun of them with his special tactics. He was banning anybody on his stream who would try to ask questions about his real MMR or about the skill level of his opponents, while also boasting about how he could easily outplay any top player from Russia if he just trained a bit. Despite all the aforementioned things, MEDOED was still growing bigger and bigger. The casual audience of his streams didn't give a damn about pro scene and the authenticity of his statements, and everyone would simply come to enjoy another banter provided by this charming and entertaining streamer. Even though he was caught lying multiple times, he was still doing a big job of growing StarCraft 2 community in Russia. At one point, he would even break all donation records, sometimes, according to him, earning more than $10,000 for one stream. But you can only go so far with lies and hypocrisy. While the majority of StarCraft 2 fans enjoyed MEDOED and his shows, there was a hardcore fan base who despised him for his statements about pro level and also because of his constant smurfing and clickbait. But MEDOED was clever enough to never actually give anybody any proof of how incompetent he actually was on a real pro level against real pro players. But it would change during the Nation Wars. Enchanted by his success, glory and fame, MEDOED decided to take part in the Nation Wars and choose to nominate himself. This immediately sparked a big controversy in the Russian community, and many people knew that he was absolutely not fit for such a big tournament. Technically and legally, he, of course, could participate because he once was in the Grandmaster League, and he was eligible for Nation Wars, but Russia desperately needed a strong lineup this year. But there was also a different point. He would bring a lot more viewers to the tournament and make it more entertaining. It was a fair election, but the public was dissatisfied with the results. This weakened the Russian lineup severely because now the team couldn't deploy Vanya, the best Zerg player in the country. MEDOED claimed that he had a secret barcode account with around 6,000 MMR and he was pretty much on the same level as Vanya, but many people didn't really believe him and called a strike against the event and MEDOED himself, demanding him to give his spot to Vanya. And obviously, it didn't happen. Almost 2 months before the voting, Alex, the most popular Russian-speaking YouTuber, published a video where he openly criticized MEDOED and his ambitions on this tournament. He casted his own game where he crushed MEDOED with ease, and then asked the viewers to vote for somebody who really deserves the spot in this tournament. However, this media campaign was not enough to stop the bulldozer of the Russian esports, and it only contributed to the drama that was already developing at that point. The first qualification round for Russia was very easy though, as the country faced Ireland, which didn't really have any active Grandmaster players in the roster. Since MEDOED got the most votes, he was also given the role of a team captain, which he actively used to promote his own propaganda and cult of personality. In his first ever professional match, he faced A-Bomb. A-Bomb was actually a very decent player back in the past, and we even had a story about him on this channel, but he was obviously very far from having the same skills he had back in the old days. He was long retard and couldn't match against active players. MEDOED went for a proxy hatchery this game and swiftly took a decisive victory. Later on, the Russian team got a 4-0 over Ireland, making it into the group stage rounds. This in itself was not a big achievement, as it was expected by everybody in the community, but MEDOED made a big deal out of it. In his very next video, he claimed he was almost solely responsible for Russia's success in this tournament.
Я поздравляю вас! Мы победители! Мы чемпионы! Мы вышли в групповую стадию! Мы прошли отборочные! Вячеслав Медоед сегодня показал невероятный StarCraft. Я поздравляю всех. Порочный круг многолетнего, не побоюсь этого слова, пососа прекращен.
He also said that it was the first time Russia got into group stage, which was technically correct. In 2 previous years, Russia lost to different countries, but with a much stronger lineup. And 1 year the country also had another scandal, with Russian players just not showing up to the event. This was the pivotal turning point of the whole story. At this exact moment, MEDOED reached his absolute peak of popularity. He proved to his hardcore followers that he can somewhat compete on a big level, and this was a perfect time to fold. He was pressured quite a lot by another half of the Russian community to give his spot to Vanya, and he could have easily done that with saying something like, "I opened the road for younger players, good luck winning without me." But blinded with his own success, MEDOED chose to go all in up until the end, while possibly knowing the abysmal odds of him winning in the next round. This would cause a disaster for his whole streaming career. Next, Russia got into a group of death, with both Poland and Sweden. Both countries featured incredible players, leaving little chances to pretty much any other team in this tournament. The first match was Russia vs Poland, and it started with Skillers getting a 1-0 victory, but then it was Bratok's match against Mana. We stop at this match because it's also important. This particular game would be used in defense of MEDOED later on by his fans. Bratok was not quite the best candidate for this tournament either, as he was far from his prime, but he still had more MMR and experience than MEDOED, but not quite enough for players like Mana or Elazer. This is why Bratok, in hopes to bring a victory to his country, went for an absolutely crazy Marine Rush, which sadly was doomed to fail from the start.
Ok, les probinettes qui sont sortis. Ça clique.
Ouais, ça clique très fort, les probes qui sont en train de tomber, peut-être finalement, non, les batteries boucliers qui tiennent en V2 les qui sont en train de mourir. C'est un carnage pour le jour de terrain.
Attends, non, c'est pas fini, hein. Il y a tellement de marines là, il y a rien pour Bratok, pardon, pour Mana. Il y a deux pauvres stalkers qui sont là et qui sont en train de se faire complètement bourrer.
Ouais, mais les stalkers, s'ils sont micro-gérés de manière idéale, ils peuvent potentiellement tenir ad vitam aeternam. Mon chapelet renfort de marine avec l'oracle, et l'oracle qui est maintenu en vie grâce à la batterie de bouclier. C'est bien fait, c'est bien fait. Nouveau stalker qui va être envoyé et une batterie de bouclier qui est là, mais apparemment les probes avaient déjà évacué en direction de la B2 pour fighter, ce qui veut dire que les probes qu'on a perdu, on les a perdus entre guillemets de manière définitive, mais on a toujours 26 sur le terrain, ce qui est 26 de plus que Bratok qui ne passera pas. Il y a une logique dans StarCraft 2 et Bratok, en essayant de ne pas la respecter, a perdu sa game.
And then it was time for MEDOED, who faced the strongest Polish player in the whole history of StarCraft 2, Elazer. The Russian player went for a Roach all-in, which was thoroughly scouted by Elazer, and thus effortlessly countered later on.
Je stime pas complètement le truc et pose quelques spines supplémentaires à mon avis. Une ou deux, ce serait pas de trop.
Oh, les drôles.
Affreux, oh mon dieu.
Du sale.
Putain, mais les Russes.
Les Russes ils ont fait. Ok, j'ai compris. On va faire du sale.
XD. Franchement, XD in the chat please.
On sort les drones chez les lasers. Petit mineral trick, on essaie de faire ça cute. 42 pop à 96.
Et laser, les poules de drone de laser, en vrai c'est du BM. Enfin, ça, ou c'est un peu de taquin. Ouais. C'est pas forcément impoli, mais on est en train d'être taquin.
On fait ça, ok, c'est parti.
This game caused a big outcry in the Russian community, as now it was becoming more and more obvious that the Russian team had an imposter, since this was certainly not a top-level play. People were pleading MEDOED to give up and transfer his spot to Vanya, but he was unshaken. This match also created a funny meme that would further tarnish MEDOED's reputation. In his all-in, he pulled a spine crawler to attack a laser, but it didn't even burrow later on. This would lead to the creation of the biggest meme about MEDOED, called Vyalaya Pletka in Russian language. Spinecrawler was often simply referred as a whip, and the whole phrase sounded as limp whip, which is quite an obvious derogatory metaphor for something else. The Russian team lost to Poland and now had to face Sweden. MEDOED was put against Namshar, and this time he went for another swarm all-in. Despite actually having a big tactical advantage, MEDOED still couldn't pull it off due to bad positioning and decision making.
Oh mon dieu, mais quel animal! What?
Pardon!
Mais attends, est-ce que ça va pas passer quand même du coup? Parce que là tous les drones sont envoyés.
Et tous les airs étaient de l'autre côté de la carte! MDR!
Let's go MEDOED ici peut-être pour la victoire, les Anglais qui sont en train d'arriver à la queue, le rejoindre qui n'est pas terminé, c'est absolument catastrophique! C'est absolument catastrophique!
Allez voir, transfert des unités, sors, voilà, avec des unités d'entre queen, faut les fight, faut pas qu'ils cumulent Namshar. Let's go, danse pas, pourquoi tu danses?
Ok, transfuse, clic, envoie plus d'unités! Où sont les unités? Les rouges qui sont en train de se battre, il a pas encore tué de drone, Tue les drones!
Non, allez, fais des trucs.
Ok, il y a des drones qui commencent à mourir, mais il y a encore des lits qui sont en vie, non, MEDOED!
Il fallait faire un deuxième Nidus en fait, juste à côté d'un bâtiment.
Allez, on continue de produire des rouges, on continue d'envoyer des queens, mais il y a toujours plus de Zerglings qui sont en train d'arriver. 4 produits sur 3, Archery, il est mal positionné. Le joueur russe qui ne s'en sort pas, Yogor, parce qu'il a posé son réseau de Nidus dans son mur P2. Quel animal!
C'était l'endroit le plus improbable, tu cliques pas dessus, tu fais oh, chop démo, et this is totally fine.
Oh non! Not like this, MEDO!
Non mais en fait, genre, là, c'est en fait pour... Bon, là, c'est mort, mais ce qu'il fallait faire, c'est... Tout par ça.
Oh non, mais c'est un animal. Un animal.
Mais no joke. S'il l'avait fait, par contre, direct cacha,
Oui.
ça fonctionne. Hein.
Ah oui, mais je suis d'accord. Parce qu'en vrai, la fight, elle a été serrée. Hein.
Bah, parce qu'il y avait les autres. Non, et surtout, en fait, ce qu'il fallait faire, c'est qu'il sort avec son premier Nidus, et t'as vu, le Zerg, en fait, il se planque autour de tes bases. En fait, fallait qu'il aille à peu près dans la ligne de minerai, et qu'il remette un ligne de Nidus, et qu'il le coince entre la main et le pack de minerai. Et comme ça, en fait, t'es dans un full setup où le mec...
This could have been the end of Team Russia's run in this tournament, but the whole situation was suddenly salvaged by a young Protoss player named Skillos.
Les auras qui vont défendre de l'autre côté, attention, on n'a pas les bannis qui vont toucher beaucoup. On répartit la population comme on le peut, on a absorbé pas mal. Si on est capable de warper la population, ça va faire mal. Cependant, les Broulords en fait sont déjà là, donc le Zerg il a temporisé ce qu'il avait à temporiser.
Ouais, mais
maintenant,
les Stalkers arrivent. Les Stalkers arrivent et y a pas d'unité au
LOL.
sol, mon bro. Les Stalkers de 2 qui vont bliquer directement sur les
Mais
Broulords
pardon.
et qui vont pouvoir faire la différence.
Mais comment?
2 Broulords qui meurent, 3 Broulords qui meurent. Meurs. Je te dis meurs.
aïe aïe aïe, il a remis une carte dessus, mais les transfuses qui sont là, qui sont partis pendant que les Akonders font énormément de dommages, qui laissent un peu le changement de Tracker, qui sont un peu en train de mourir. Mais on a tellement de gates que la reprend pas, t'es insane, TKL.
Et c'est une reprod full stalker, 11 stalkers sur le terrain qui peuvent être amplement suffisants. Maintenant,
Pardon.
ils n'ont plus d'énergie pour tuer ces 3 Broulords sur un timing de 2 bien senti. Le joueur russe Kilous qui est en train de faire passer l'un des plus grands pays du monde à la suite des joueurs vers les Hero 16 contre la Suède sur un upset incroyable.
Aïe 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 aïe, Namchar qui se fait démonter comme un vieux meuble Ikea de mort là. Skillos complètement en train de se faire déboîter ses bases une à une. Oh, improbable. Mais moi j'étais vu comme beaucoup. Bah c'était acte 0 pour la Suède. Oui. Regardez-moi ce Skillos.
Et partout
Qui
dans le
refuse.
monde, les Russes et les russophiles se lèvent pour Skilous et ils crient son nom, Nikita. Alors qu'il se dirige vers la
Oh
victoire.
là là.
Incroyable.
Ah ce plays.
Insane.
Ah il l'a déboîté.
Exit l'American Sniper, c'est désormais le Russian Sniper. Il a éclaté la tête de son adversaire.
And now the attention switched to the national hero Skillos, who carried the team forward. The pressure on MEDOED to resign would only increase, and MEDOED did one of the worst things he actually could. On his stream, he said that he was ready to sell the spot if there was a good offer to do so. It must be mentioned though that it wasn't said in a direct way, and people actually argued whether he was just joking or not. But it spiraled into another scandal, with many Russian esports websites posting the news about one Russian player who is trying to cash out from a prestigious tournament. If you think we've hit the rock bottom, oh boy, this is not the end. MEDOED refused to leave, and now he was even targeted at his own streams, with people stream sniping him and asking, or rather demanding him to give up the spot. In the next group stage we finally saw Vanya, but it was courtesy of Bratok, who decided to give up his spot because he was just weaker than Vanya. And yet the next group stage was even tougher, as now Russia had to face Canada. This time, however, MEDOED was somewhat lucky again, as he met No Regret, a famous Canadian guy who ran a foreigner team house in South Korea. No Regret also participated in GSL, and he was very well known for his love of cheesy playstyles, all-ins and rushes, so MEDOED should have been aware of what was coming. Indeed, he was ready, but it didn't really help him. He faced a big Zerg rush, but his wall had a hole in it, which led to a very silly defeat.
Прямо сейчас Роу черный уничтожен.
О,
Дырка! Дырка в стенке! Приехали.
Да, там чуть-чуть рельеф карты, и Беллинги морфится, линги на мэйне еще морфится Беллинги. Боевых юнитов, к сожалению, нет, сейчас только выходят линги, но линги без скорости.
Russia eventually lost to Canada, and it was time to face Taiwan in the loser match. At that point, MEDOED's reputation was completely shattered. Even his die-hard fans started asking questions about the integrity of his passwords and about his skill level and competence. Indeed, this whole PR trick turned into a catastrophe for him, and now there was just no way back. MEDOED's opponent in the next round was Haas, and this time MEDOED finally hit the rock bottom. Haas decided to turn this match into a mockery and humiliation. And whether he did that intentionally or not, this Taiwanese player just showed the whole world how big of an imposter MEDOED was.
He's like, what?
Gonna be a spike.
This has never happened to me.
I think it's gonna be a spike crawler rush, but the first Zealot is gonna be out very quickly. These drones feel a little late to me. I think normally you want to build those spines immediately the moment the hatch is done.
What?
What?
He's sending back the drones.
Yeah, but now he's a one-base Zerg, though. Okay.
I got nothing, man.
No, guys. There are drones in the middle of the map. They have freed up the path as well for the Adepts of Has, so that's
I
gonna
can't
be...
believe he cancelled.
And well, he's gonna respond with the double X, man. What do you think about that?
He's got
15 army supply. That's a very bad sign. He was supply blocked again for another second. I feel like Has is playing a minigame. He's like, how many minutes can I supply block this dude? Well, it turns out the answer is quite some time. He's hallucinating Archons as well. Is that disrespect, Todd?
I mean, he's just having fun at this point. It's not particularly useful. It feels like you almost should have kept these for force fills, but there is no units anyway.
Yeah.
Roaches and Lings are about to come out here for MEDOED. He's literally stuck on his side of the map.
But there's no
behind the middle
DPS
line.
in this army, though, so I'm actually not exactly sure what Has is gonna achieve here. Like,
He has no recall for a while.
oh, that's actually quite good. Is he gonna get everything here?
Oh my god.
Look at those fake Archons putting in work.
Has is not trapped in there with MEDOED. MEDOED is trapped in there with the Has.
What are we watching, Todd? What are we watching?
Redesigning the map.
Oh, cross the ball, landing in the middle of the pack. All of these sentries and Gava units will go down, but of course not before. Has created a 26 worker advantage for himself. I think he's having a ball. Oh my god, 4 bases.
Wouldn't you be tempted to drop down like 4 Stargates?
Yeah. He's having a ball.
He's like, lurker. You want to make lurkers? I'm gonna make 3 times more immortals than you have lurkers.
All right.
I dare you to try and turtle.
Has is having a very good time force fielding his way over Thunderbird. He's gonna get a very easy cancel here on this 4th base, or nope. Okay. I love how he did let him cancel. I feel like he actually was able to kill it there. A couple of lurkers are on the way. You can say what you want about MEDOED, Todd, but he is making it past the 9-minute mark against Has. A lot of people have lost quicker than that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he doesn't have much mid shield. That's the problem.
No.
Like roaches, you just gonna tank the damage, stand there. Lurkers doing a ton of damage. Drones are gonna be pulled off the line. I mean, why not? He needs to hold on against this attack anyway. Has with a ton more supplies, kind of breaking through right now. The Immortals still doing a ton of damage, and it looks like this is gonna be it here for the Russian Zerg.
I think that is going to be correct. Obviously, from start to finish, this was very, very good for Has. Started off with a proxy hatchery that MEDOED decided to cancel 99% in. From that point on, I think you're always going to have a pretty hard time. 29 additional drones have gone down. And yes, there are quite a few Hydras here. But this army of Has is powerful. Reinforcements are coming in for Has as well. And don't
He's defending.
Yeah, but don't forget about the upgrade stuff.
A whole the maxed out army of
Oh my god,
Has.
he's getting 3.
He just won a
4
title.
more robos. It's an 8 robo. 8 robo, 118 probes. Has, you are ridiculous.
Yeah, for sure he knows he has way too many
Yeah,
points
of
as well.
course.
He's like Mimim at this point.
He's got 5 times the work account of MEDOED. Oh my goodness.
He's just giving material to MEDOED, man.
He's actually playing tower defense at this point.
Oh
you know?
my
He's
god,
like-
there's more Immortals than there's anything else out of Zerg.
He's like, I'm going for a wave of Immortals right now. I believe that will take down the siege tower on the high ground.
Oh my god, the damage.
Yeah, this is tower defense if I've ever seen.
And remember, it was double forge, by the way. He's 3-1 in upgrades.
Yeah, it's triple forge.
Yeah. Triple, yeah, even.
He's about to get 3-3-2.
No! As he's just gonna run past everything.
Yeah, well.
Oh my god.
Has
have
no
protection.
Yeah, he's doing this on
He's
purpose.
like, let me help you with that hive, by the way.
Let me help you get out of this game by killing all of your buildings. And you know what? What if I just take out the spawning pool? The abductments as well. 7 Immortals, by the way, guys, being produced at once. The Extractor is the last.
For Russia there was no miracle this time, and even though Skillos played well, it was not enough to save this situation, so the team was finally eliminated from the tournament. But even at this point, MEDOED was still trying to use his previous tactics, and he once again published a video where he stated that he was courageously fighting like a lion against a much better opponent, trying to save the pride of his country. This only caused more rage and drew even more criticism towards him. This whole situation forced MEDOED to temporarily retire from StarCraft 2. He lost a big chunk of his audience and subs, as well as people who previously donated to him. However, despite everything that happened, he still had a small, dedicated and loyal fan base with people enjoying his positivity and charisma. Some people also made an argument that even though he didn't really win any match in the group stage, so was the case for Bratok and Vanya, who, even with much better chances, couldn't bring the victory for Russia. Skillos, unlike MEDOED, gained a big boost in Russia after this event, and his career basically skyrocketed after that. He was celebrated as the hero and the only true hope for Russian StarCraft 2. MEDOED, on the other hand, was cursed and pretty much exiled from the community. He would later return back to this game, but he would not be able to achieve the same heights, fame and respect he once had. That's the end of this story. Check out our previous video about Life, who went from StarCraft 2 champion to a literal esports criminal. Have a nice day and see you next time.